Public budgeting cannot occur without first identifying the revenue sources that can support it. Then, public officials must cultivate the willingness on the part of the citizenry to allow those sources to be used. For state and local governments, the available revenue limits spending for tax-supported government services. This idea stands in contradiction to the popular notion that by adjusting complex formulas, governments can arbitrarily raise the level of taxation to meet even higher levels of program spending. State law and regulations establish limits on any local government tax increases, and only through a vote of the people or their representatives can governments raise revenue above established limits. Except for the federal government, most state and local governments in the United States cannot deficit spend. Like individuals, governments may borrow money, but they cannot do so without a payment schedule that ties the debt payment to the jurisdiction's long-term stream of revenue. Once a government entity settles on available levels of revenue, a predictable political dynamic begins to unfold. On the one hand, agency staff and their constituents will view available resources as falling far short of the true demand for government services. For this group, revenue levels are limits to be challenged. On the other hand, taxpayers and many elected officials view available resources as all that's available to allocate among competing programs. From this perspective, revenue levels demonstrate a commitment to only the most important needs of the community. The public budgeting process provides a procedure for reconciling these differences. Should sufficient political and community support emerge, the government may ask for voters to allow a higher level of revenue to support a higher level of programs and services. Where such political support and voter acceptance is lacking, the available level of revenue will determine program size for the coming budget year. When actual collection of revenues falls short of expectations, boards must reconvene to adjust spending downward. This is always a serious and troubling occasion, since it may require immediate program reductions and things like employee layoffs. On the other hand, when economic conditions improve and revenue collections unexpectedly increase from the previous year, administrators and elected officials may face an uncomfortable windfall of resources. When this occurs, government administrators and elected officials are caught in the horns of this dilemma. Do we return funds to the taxpayers, admitting our failure to forecast accurately, or can we credibly demonstrate a valid reason for the use of the extra resources? Governments do operate a number of limited programs in an entrepreneurial or quasi-business model. For local cities and towns, these programs typically are constrained to municipal public utility monopolies such as water, sewer, and some jurisdictions electricity and internet access. Beyond public utilities and monopoly services, government has traditionally been restrained from entry into the commercial market. Government enterprises must find careful limits between providing needed public service and displacing the competitive for-profit sector. Blending governmental and for-profit enterprises into public-private partnerships provides one way to span this economic sector boundary. Because of the fixed nature of governmental resources, revenue identification and forecasting is a critical basis for all public budgets and financial plans. Accurate revenue forecasting allows for the development of appropriate program, funding, staffing, and contracting levels while helping to maintain the trust of the public employees and the confidence of the public. An underestimation of revenue leads to reduced spending and may fail to meet critical needs, while an overestimation of revenue leads to program and service cutbacks partly through the budget year. Either situation results in citizen and employee disengagement with the organization. General fund revenue is a reserve of money that may be used for any purpose authorized by law, and it often comes from a wide variety of sources that have nothing in common with the spending program. For example, a jurisdiction may collect various kinds of building and inspection fees that end up lumped into a general fund with property tax revenue. This pot of revenues is available to be redistributed to support a variety of government services. Effective revenue and cost forecast help to assure the structural solvency of government organizations.